You're on the air with Florenza, your podcast destination for authentic conversations with a twist. So, grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and join me on this unique literary journey. Cheers!
Today I'm thrilled to welcome New York Times bestselling powerhouse Karen White, returning us to the misty, mysterious corners of New Orleans with the third novel in her unforgettable Royal Street series. Secrets, spirits, and second chances collide as Nola Trenholm faces a past that refuses to stay buried and a house that refuses to let go of its ghosts. Please put your hands together and welcome Karen to the show. Thank you so much, Karen, for joining me on this episode of On the Air with Florenza, where in just a few minutes we are going to talk about your newest book, The Lady on Esplanade. And before we dive into any of that, we are going to toast to an amazing show. And I have a little bread.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. I feel boring with just my plain water, but okay.
But you are on your way to taking care of that gorgeous body, honey.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, I Pilates next. So yes, gotta hydrate. So
Gotta hydrate. So cheers.
cheers to you. Thanks for having me.
You are most welcome. For most of my guests, they know that there's a lot of drinking that goes on. It's kind of like Kathy Lee and Hoda
Yes, I remember that.
back in the day. But of late, I just toast and pour it back into the bottle. So the bottle's right there.
It's a little early, so yeah.
Now, Karen, tell us a little bit about yourself and about your newest book, The Lady on Esplanade. Did I say that right?
Esplanade.
Esplanade.
Yeah, so I both of my parents were born and raised in Mississippi, both born during the Depression. So that whole experience of not having a lot, my father actually had days where he didn't eat, um, really, really influenced who they became, especially my dad. He really struggled as a child. But he was very smart and he just applied himself in school, went to college on the ROTC bill. So but the thing about my dad was that he was so curious about the outside world and about people. It didn't matter race, religion, whatever. He wanted to know their stories. He did a lot of reading, nonfiction, was such a history buff. And I was the only girl out of four children, but I was the one that he most related to because I just when he would say, let's go to such and such battlefield, or I'd be like, yeah, the first person raising, my hand. So, he just had this just huge interest in everything. And he was the one that got me interested in the paranormal. He just thought ghost stories were just, especially true ghost stories were like appropriate bedtime reading for small children for some reason. But he influenced that aspect for me. And also, the love of old houses and quality craftsmanship and all of these things. And it was because of him, he ended up being, an executive with Exxon Corporation. And that job led us to live in really exciting places. We lived in London for 7 years, which really influenced me in my writing. So that's where a lot of, and but all my family's in the South, and they're all in Mississippi. And we just went to a family reunion in July, and it's funny because you forget the accents until you're there, and then it's like, and my son was like, I need a translator. I just can't understand what they're saying. And but it's the truth. I mean, this is the Delta, the Mississippi Delta, which is what they call the most southern place on earth. It's where the B.B. King Museum is. With B.B. King and Morgan Freeman as well were both from Indianola, Mississippi, which is this big. And when my mother was growing up, it literally had one stoplight. That's it. And so now with the Blues Museum, it's a little more known on the map, But that whole influence of me going home to the South, wherever we lived in the world, visiting my grandmother's house with my millions of cousins and extended family, were, no matter what exciting other trips we had done in Europe because we lived over there,
Yeah.
I looked forward to going to Indianola, Mississippi and just sitting around my grandmother's kitchen
Yeah.
table and just listening to everybody talk. And
Hmm.
that's, my mother was one of five girls and one boy, and just listening to the Southern sisters doing their talk, that's what resonated. And then I went to Tulane in New Orleans, and that's where my love of New Orleans began.
Yeah.
So you can see how all of my life experiences have really influenced all of my books.
What a beautiful legacy you have to come from parents who experienced such hardships, but didn't let the hardships shape or harden
Right,
their views, right? And
right,
to create children who were curious and who enjoy um, reaching out into a space unlike where they were. Now,
right.
did your parents live to see you as an author? Did your dad get a chance to see that part of
Oh
you?
yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. My parents actually recently, my father passed in 2022 and my mother in 2023. So, yes, they were able to see that all. My mother, I think, was very surprised by it, because
Uh-huh.
she was a very traditional housewife, even though she had a college degree and but she went to college on a music scholarship. So she was like kind of surprised that, once I was a stay-at-home mom, that I continue to want more to
Yeah.
do, and that's when my writing career kind of started after I had kids. And I think that was always a very surprise. She always considered my writing career as a hobby. So I don't think she understood exactly the work that is involved. But my
Oh,
dad was like my number one fan for sure.
yeah.
And
Oh,
he loved my first series, the Trad Street series. He had dementia by the time the Royal Street series started, so he didn't really get into that, but he loved the Trad Street series.
nice.
Yeah,
Oh, I love it. I love it. Speaking of the South, it is truly your primary character in all of your series.
yeah.
What is it like for Northerners who contact you and say, "Oh my gosh, Karen, I feel like you just put me in a parachute and dropped me straight in the South."
Yeah, and I do. I get emails like that all the time. Because setting in all my books, not just in these series books, but in my, single titles, um, the setting is a main character. It's as much of a main character as my living speaking characters are.
Uh-huh.
And I think it comes instinctively or instinctually. I'm trying to think of the right word. It's I don't even have to think about it because, and I think it's because I lived in so many other
Hmm.
places. I was always looking for a place to call home. And when I think of home, I think of my grandmother's house,
Yeah,
this teeny, teeny, tiny two-bedroom, one bathroom house. Um, but I think about, the neighborhood, the little, going downtown and so when I was growing up, wherever I lived, in my mind, I would parachute to that place. And that's why it was so vivid to me in my memory. And I would recreate it in my, well, in my dreams while I was away from there. And I
yeah,
think that's why it's so important to me that I do the same thing in my book so that I
yeah.
can pull people from wherever they are and put them in this special place. And that's why it's something that's second nature to me when I'm writing.
And such a beautiful way to honor your legacy as well and your parents and not seek to run away from that thing, but to embrace it in such a way that it did become your roots.
Hmm.
Um, my husband and I married, he was military. He had already joined the army, and for the first 31 years of our marriage, we
Wow.
moved every 4 years. And
Yeah.
my daughters, they came 5 years into the marriage. And so, but that was the only life that they knew was, this constant moving, and they never had that sense of home, even
Right.
though we would come back to Ohio, but both sets of our parents are Southern. And
Okay.
so, even though we were born in Ohio and we considered home Ohio,
Right.
surprisingly, our parents never did. They
Well,
considered the South
okay.
home. And so, as you were talking, and it's like, I'm getting this thought of being at my grandmother's and, having that sense, but their home was never really their home.
Interesting.
So,
Hmm.
I didn't have that. So, as you were
Hmm.
speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing.
Right, right.
I love that. Now, the lady on Esplanade,
Hmm?
you placed your protagonist, who is Nola Trenholm. Did I get
Right.
her name right?
Or Trenum,
Trenholm.
however,
Okay.
depending on where you're from, how you
Trenholm.
pronounce it. Yeah.
In a shotgun house fixer-upper on the historic Esplanade Avenue in New Orleans.
Hmm.
So this is a house with a woman's murder, a missing family, wet footprints, and restless spirits.
Yeah.
Honey, that's a whole
It
lot.
is a lot. There's always a lot of moving parts in my books, even and in the series. And I think, yes, there's a lot of extra stuff going on, the whole paranormal aspect. But at the heart of this book, it's still about Nola and and who she is. A very difficult childhood that she is still trying to move beyond, and some other like missteps on her way to adulthood. Um, but she's very close to her half sister who comes to visit. um so it's about Nola and her newfound family, both blood related, and then her roommate Jolene, who's everybody's favorite secondary
Uh-huh.
character,
Yes.
her nemesis Beau Ryan, who's also her business partner, and who can see dead people. And then, so here she is in New Orleans. She's starting this new business with Beau, which is flipping murder houses. And for those of you who don't know what a murder house is, it is a house that is probably undervalued
Yeah.
because nobody wants to buy it because there was something unsavory that happened within its walls. And so that's where we find Nola in this book number 3 of this installment. Mhm.
Yes, and those are the homes that I go looking for. So
Yeah, oh, I know. A lot of people do, but as long as they've gotten the stains off the wall, like I'll consider
yeah. Now,
it.
in the intermission segment, we talked a little bit about like the places that you've been that like had the most supernatural effect on your family. You had shared how it was a spot that didn't so much affect you as much as it was your husband and your son. But
Mhm.
I would like to ask, what is a place that you visited that had the most effect on you, that had that supernatural element?
Mhm. Wow. Um, I won't even say it's not even like an well, maybe it is. So the cities of Charleston and New Orleans always give
Hmm.
me that vibe.
Yes,
Always. I mean,
100%. Yes.
and which is why writing the series in those two cities was like a no-brainer. People say, "Why don't you write about Savannah? There's ghosts there too."
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
"Yeah, yeah, yeah," but I don't get that
yeah,
vibe that I get in Charleston and New Orleans. That
yeah.
it's just a given. And I do know when I was in Charleston, I did an event at the Dungeon, and because now it's like a party space, you
Yeah.
can you can throw parties there. I don't know if they do wedding receptions. That would be weird, um, but definitely got vibes there, and definitely, whenever we would get into the elevator to go up, it would
Hmm.
always take you down to the dungeon.
Yeah.
And definitely, and obviously there's tremendous research on the stories of the people that suffered there. Horrible, horrible suffering. And I mean, you can feel it. I mean, it's just that kind of despair just seeps into to the stones of the,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
walls and the ceilings and the floors, and you just can't avoid it. And that I think is probably one of the darkest places I've ever gone.
Yeah. And you're right about that. We lived in Savannah for many years, and up until that point, other than places in Europe, Dachau and some
Oh
other
gosh, yes.
places that you go that you
Oh, human suffering.
absolutely feel that like there's just no
Right,
way ever. You have to be morally dead to go into a space like that and not have some type of visceral
right,
reaction.
right.
But after that, Savannah was it until I went to Charleston and to New Orleans. And you're right, they just went whoop whoop, and poor little Savannah
Hmm.
was down
Uh-huh.
there.
No, I know, I know. And it's interesting you mentioned Dachau again when we lived in Europe, and my dad, again, history buff, and he thought it was very important for us children to know
Yeah.
what happened. And and I remember one of the trips we took when we were in Munich, we took the trip out to
Mm.
Dachau. And you know what, my reaction, I cried.
Yeah.
You just can't not.
You can
And
not
so
cry.
like the Anne Frank house, I
Yes.
stepped into that and I just,
Yeah.
without even, going into the first room, I just started crying because
Hmm.
it's just that the
Yeah.
suffering is so,
Yeah.
it's total and immense, and
Yeah.
that's I think is a natural reaction.
Yeah, the same. Recently, I was in Ghana and walked through the door of no return, and
Mm,
I
yeah,
can promise you, my legs did not want to move. I had to will my feet to move.
I believe it.
And
Yeah,
it's just overwhelming. And
yeah.
I love how you take elements of that and spice these stories. Now, I do want to talk about this freaky deaky imagery you had of the wet footprints,
Right.
girl.
Right, right. And I don't know where that came from because they've been following Beau around since the Trad Street series. Like we didn't know. And as a matter of fact, when I created them, I didn't know who it was.
Ooh.
Right. And then when I realized, because I didn't know Beau was going to be a main character in a spinoff series.
Uh-huh.
So, and then when he appeared in the second series and Nola's there, and I'm like, okay, he's from New Orleans. So Katrina was a big deal.
Yes.
And when I looked at his age, yep. So his mom and dad would have been about the,
Yeah.
young parents at the time of Katrina. Let's let's let's
Follow that.
let's use this. Yeah. Hmm.
Ooh, yeah, that's just like that just ooh,
Yeah.
they
So
got
yeah.
this.
So his mother disappeared during Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened to her. So when
Ooh,
they see a woman's footprints that are wet,
got to
you know,
put two and two together. Ooh.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Now let's talk about this angry young woman's spirit, a house secret, and the missing family. How much of the mystery came first? The ghost, the house, the missing family, and how did you build the rest of the story around it?
Right. So for me, the house always comes first.
Mm,
You remember, houses have stories.
yes.
And I've used Royal Street and Britannia, which are, two totally different areas of the city. And so now I wanted to like, okay, what is a iconic, road in or street in New Orleans? And Esplanade just has this. It's so amazing. So it was basically developed by so the Garden District was sort of the American sector,
Hmm.
and the Spanish wanted their own, like, with beautiful architecture and everything. So that they kind of started Esplanade Avenue, and you can see that it's reflected in the architecture and everything.
Yeah.
It's a little more flamboyant and um,
Colorful. Little,
colorful,
yes.
yes, all of
Yeah.
that. So that's where I started with the history of the Esplanade Avenue, and then I picked a house. I mean, I go into Google Maps, and
Yes.
and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a good section of Esplanade. What's on Esplanade? And then I plug in some addresses. I'm like, oh yeah, that house could go right there. And then I just started, like. What it was a working class neighborhood for a while, and I'm like, okay, that's okay. Now, it was built in whatever date, and then I just start building this like, oh, okay, well, they would have been there during the yellow fever epidemic. So, okay,
Mm,
I bet there's a hanger on from that,
yeah.
and just going from there. And then for the more modern mystery, I just was like, okay, what's a cool twisty twist I can throw in there?
Uh-huh.
So that's how I came up with who the ghost is, the more modern ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. When you are brainstorming all of this, do you have family members that you bounce this off of, or are you just stuck to your own devices in a room with a keyboard? Figure this
Yeah,
out.
that's, it's all in my head. My head is a very busy place. So.
When you first started this series, what did your family say? Were they kind of concerned, or they were just like, "Yep, this is the natural
You
progression"?
know, yeah, I've always had what my mother would call a morbid curiosity. Like
Uh-huh.
my favorite thing to do is go walking through old cemeteries.
Mine too. Are you
It's,
a Gemini?
I am. Are you?
Girl, yes. June 12th.
Oh, May 30th.
Ooh. Yeah, I think
So
that
that's
is
why
just,
we're both writers, right?
yes, and the fascination.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And again, my dad was March 3rd was his birthday. I think is that Aries, maybe?
That's Pisces.
Pisces, right before Aries, that's right.
Yeah.
Um, but he loved cemeteries. Just
Yes.
but again, he was such a history buff. And cemeteries are like old houses. They tell
Yes.
stories. And I don't know
Yes.
if you're aware of this, you probably are, but on YouTube, there are a lot of accounts where they are people who just will pick a random cemetery
Yes.
and then we'll like just pick a random grave, not anybody historic or whatever, and find the history and the story of this person and tell it. And I'm like, I love that because it honors those who've gone before us and
Yes.
it tells a story. And
Yes.
I just, love that.
I
Love
do.
that.
And I think as long as someone is sharing the story of a person, their essence remains.
I agree.
And so you honor them,
Mhm.
even if it's just a walk by and you say their names out loud.
Exactly. And sometimes that's what they, just as they're going by to get to the grave that they have researched, they will focus on the name and the dates
Yes.
and, maybe look at the saying or there's flowers or,
Yes.
any statuary or gifts that people have left behind. And,
Yeah.
because it's part of our collective story.
Yes.
Remember the John Donne poem, No Man is an Island?
No man is an island.
If a clod be taken away by the sea, Europe is the less. And that is every person who dies is taking away from the world,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that's why I love cemeteries. It's
Yeah.
again, it's like a time travel machine.
It is. It is. And you have ancient old with someone new, and they are
Mm-hmm.
in that same space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're
Mm-hmm.
sharing that space
Right.
through centuries and generations and, you know, race, religion, culture,
Mm-hmm.
social economics, it's just they're in that same space.
Right.
So
Because death
yes,
death is the
great
universal
equal.
leveler.
She is the equalizer.
Yes.
Absolutely. I know that this book has not yet released. Are you the person that allows yourself time to celebrate what you've finished, or are you kind of balls to the wall already working on something next?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess because my dad was such a workaholic, and I have to admit that I am as well. I need to take more time off. This has been a difficult year for me with
Mhm.
personal stuff
Mhm.
that I have not given myself the release to take time off because
Yeah.
it's been a good distraction.
Mhm.
Um, but I naturally gravitate towards jumping into the next project. So, and considering I have a February deadline and
Oh,
the holidays are here,
yeah, you're in
I
it.
just, yeah. Although I
You're
haven't
in it.
written a word since July. So,
Okay.
like I said, it's been a difficult year. So,
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe in that
not that I
time,
don't want to. I mean, the
yeah.
story, and it's funny because when especially when I've left the book, I'm about a third of the way in. When I leave the book, like when I think about it, I picture my characters just sitting there like,
That
Karen,
was my next question. Are they patiently waiting, or are they
well, they're
banging on the
twiddling
door
their
like
thumbs
bad
like,
kids?
yeah, and sometimes, the characters will like knock on my brain like, hey, we're here.
Over here.
I'm like, sorry, I've got other things right now. Just be patient. I promise I'll get you.
Who's louder, the supernatural characters or the fictional physical characters?
The fictional physical ones, because they're the ones, especially in a series.
Hmm.
I've been with them for however many books now, and especially Nola was in the first series. So I've known her since she was 13 and
Yeah.
she's 26 now. So I feel like she's related to me. And if she's being ignored, it's like she's like my daughter,
Yeah.
like, Mom. Come on, I can't sit around here all day. I've got things to do. I've got to restore this house. I got to figure out my romantic relationship because there's two guys and they're just both of them are not suitable and I just need a life. So,
Yes, I just need you to finish this. I just
yes.
need you to finish this.
Yes.
Where are the listeners able to engage with you and stay connected with you and your supernatural and fictional peeps?
I always, first of all, I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. And on Instagram, I'm at Karen White Write, Write, and on Facebook, Karen White Author. But I always send people, to my website, sign
Yeah.
up for my mailing list. I do a fun mailing list, cute pictures of my dog, you know, and I'll throw in the random contest to win stuff. Which again I've taken a little bit of a hiatus with
Uh-huh.
social media. Again,
Yeah,
life
yeah. Life started life in.
events, and but I plan 2026. It's going to be a renewal of Karen and her life. So please be patient. But yeah, I really recommend people go to karen-white.com, sign up for my mailing list, and then when I have a new book out, or when I'm working on something new, or when I'm going to be traveling again on book tour or just doing events, you'll be the first to know.
Excellent. Excellent. So we're going to take a sip, and I have just a few questions for you that we're going to go out with the bang.
I hope they're
And I
not
just,
too hard.
oh no,
This
they won't be behind. They won't be because
okay.
this has just been so much fun. I feel like I've
It
known you
has been. I know.
forever.
We have a lot in common.
We really do. We absolutely do. I should have known from go. Um, so let me see. Fill in the blank. By the time the reader meets your ghost, they should feel blank about it. Fearful, sympathetic, angry, sorry, or filling your own word.
Oh, wow. How about all of the above? They're all different. So, one they should definitely be afraid of, one they should feel sympathy for,
Oh,
and one they want to root for.
yeah, yeah. I
And those are
like
just
that.
the three main ones. There's some hangers on too, but
Yeah, I love
they'll
that.
be addressed in another book.
Have you had a situation where a ghost that was supposed to just be like the the character riding the bicycle down the road come back later and say, "How dare you overlook me? I'm supposed to be more than that."
Yes, actually, a ghost in the first series, and who knows if she'll come back into the second one. Um, she did become a pretty main character, but I actually have a ghost that gets fan mail, and it is the ghost of Grandma Sarah who calls on unconnected landlines. And she got so much attention in the first series that I brought Grandma Sarah back into the Royal Street series. So yes, you will definitely be seeing Grandma Sarah because she was like, people like me. You need to include me some more. So yeah.
Have you ever had a situation where you thought that you were creating a ghost only to later get a sense that nope, that wasn't a creation. That was like an actual ghost that realized you were tapped in.
Not yet, but that's a little worrisome. I've been told by psychics that I am psychic myself because I
Mm-hmm.
get so much so right, and I'm just in complete denial because I am at heart a scaredy cat. And I just no,
Okay.
no. Like when we moved into this house, there was a light that would flicker constantly. And I read somewhere that, if you're unnerved by something, tell it to stop. And so
Yeah.
I said, please stop doing that to that light. It has not flickered since.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that's as much as interaction as I want.
So you're like, please no, I only flirt with you. I am not trying to
Yes,
get married
I'm
and
a
having
tease.
children with you.
I'm a tease, totally, because I don't know. I just, no, no.
And see, and I'm the one that's trying to get married and have children with this. I'm like, I just
Really? Oh my goodness. I don't know, maybe I need to create. But I've always created, the actual characters are just so juicy that I
yeah.
just, I haven't been tempted to, but never say never.
Yeah, this is true. Well, listen, Karen, thank you so much. Enjoy your Pilates class, and I look
Thank
forward to
you.
having you come back on
This
when
was a pleasure.
that
Thank you
next
so
book
much.
is done.
Yes, yes. Knock on wood, it'll be before deadline, or at least by deadline. So,
It will absolutely be by deadline. Girl, you're a Gemini. We do not.
oh no.
Look,
And
we
we do best on deadline, don't we?
yes, we do. We
Yes.
And this wraps
absolutely
up
do.
another episode of On the Air with Florenza. You may follow me on all social media platforms under Florenza Lee or via my website at florenza.org. Until next time, cheers.